6:04. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Yep, we're back at it on a Monday morning, y'all. Whew. Struggle bus of a weekend, too. I mean, that was an absolute annihilation on Saturday night. Embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. No, I'm not setting up for a bid here. I am talking, of course, about the LSU-Alabama football game. We'll talk about it a little bit as the show wears on. But you know how we start off the show. Top stories in trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
A teenager was taken to a hospital in critical condition Saturday night after a shooting up in Baker. Officials said the victim was shot along Florida Avenue, which is off of Main Street. Chief Carl Dunn said 2 juveniles, who are friends, were in a bedroom with a gun. Unclear if the gun was fired or if it accidentally went off, but one teenager was shot. The other was taken in for questioning. Chief Dunn said officers are in the early stages of the investigation. They'll have more information as they continue to work.
Number 4.
A new kind of technology is being developed at LSU in collaboration with the College of Engineering, with Halliburton and ExxonMobil, to research carbon capture technology. Dominic Giannetti is the Senior Vice President for Low Carbon Solutions over at ExxonMobil. He says he's excited to work with the latest project at the PERT Lab. Yep, PERT Lab. We had them on about 2 weeks ago, right? Stands for Petroleum Engineering, Research, Training, and Testing. He says today we're celebrating the spudding of a well, a research well to help test carbon capture in a real-world environment. So that is going on over there on LSU's campus.
Number 3.
Initial unemployment insurance claims picked up just slightly in Louisiana last week, according to the latest figures. Claims largely grew across the nation. New unemployment claims rose by a single filing to 1,572 for the week ending November 2nd. The previous week saw claims drop 12%. Initial claims were also just shy of 12% lower than they were for the same period last year.
Number 2.
The owner of the Florida Wildlife Company that gave us Omar the Tiger said Sunday the young tiger, who served as a surrogate for LSU's mascot Mike the Seven, ahead of the LSU-Alabama game, was never stressed during his appearance in front of 103,000 screaming fans. Mitchell Colmanson said in an interview with our news partners over at WBRZ that Omar Bradley, an 18-month-old tiger, had grown accustomed to Tiger Stadium during trips to the arena Thursday and Friday. Stadium crews attempted to simulate what Tiger Stadium would be like on a Saturday night. They went through a number of different scenarios.
Number 1.
Number 1 takes us to, oh my goodness, my laptop, which does not have internet right now. We got to skip it. I don't have internet right now. What's trending, John?
Well, former White House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is blaming the return of Donald Trump to the White House on Joe Biden, saying the current president should have stepped aside sooner.
You know, she's got a point. Maybe before primaries, maybe would work. Maybe if he had stepped aside and people, in the Democratic Party voted for who they would like to see as their nominee, rather than being force-fed someone towards the back end of summer. She's got a point.
Yeah.
The blame game's all over the place, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous at this point. Hey, in other news, Elon Musk backed the right horse. Tesla stock and the market talk continue to soar into the weekend.
Like a resurgence of Elon over here.
Yeah.
I know. I'm wondering if everybody's still saying that Twitter's going to close every day. Or if, now it's got some footing underneath it.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Since it is Veterans Day, recent studies show that roughly 1 in 4 veterans suffer from PTSD. And while we are playing catch-up to see that those who are suffering are helped, another recent study said the first study underestimated the number by a third.
That secondary study right there, I saw this one yesterday. That secondary study right there puts the number way closer to a half than 1/4. And that is a ridiculous number, and we need to do better as a people to take care of those who have protected us.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. I think we're getting there. I think we've come a long way, but still so much further to go.
Yeah. No doubt. But I mean, we're looking at an entire generation of a war.
Yes.
We're looking at from basically 9/11 till now, or 9/11 till about a couple of years ago, there was continual fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. There was continually Americans who were serving to protect our freedom halfway across the globe, seeing things that were just absolutely, I mean, beyond what we can what we can reckon from the safety of our homes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of catching up to do. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 610 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, as reluctantly as it will be. Actually, you know what? How about them Hoodats, baby? Saints took care of business yesterday, beating up on the Dirty Birds, which is always a good thing. We'll talk about that, and just a lot of football over the weekend. We'll cover it next. Coming up on 6:15 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is sports time. Don't forget your home for Monday Night Footballs right here on Talk 107.3 FM. It's going to be Dolphins at the Rams tonight. Kickoff is for 7:15. We pick up Westwood One's coverage right here on Talk 107.3 FM at 7 p.m. While we're talking NFL, it was Saints and the Dirty Birds yesterday in the Superdome. Were the Saints going to see a boost from having an interim head coach? Well, they responded. You had the coaching change in place, and it's the best they've played in a while, ending a set. Well, I shouldn't say that. They've played good ball, but continually found a way to lose, finding new and exciting ways to lose for 7 straight weeks. It wasn't all bad. The play over those 7 weeks wasn't all bad, but the results were. So the Saints come out and they beat the Falcons 20-17. 17 of those 20 points were scored in the second quarter, and then they hold on for a victory. Here's interim head coach Darren Rizzi.
As I just said to the crew in there, the team, again, I've been around a long time, college and NFL a long time. I've never been more proud of a group, the way that they handle everything. Because when things are uncomfortable, it's easy to just cash it in, and no one did that this week.
Marcus Valdez-Scantling, new to the Saints. He's been around the NFL a good bit, though. He had 2 touchdown catches. Tyrann Mathieu had an interception. Cam Jordan had his first sack of the season, and Alvin Kamara became the franchise's all-time leading rusher in the game as well. Very early in the game, actually. Kamara says he liked the attitude that the team had, the team displayed during the game.
Today, everybody was just bought in all the way, for 4 quarters, and that's what I'm used to being here, playing a 4-quarter game. And I think, we finished today. We were able to go out there and finish, and everybody stayed together. Nobody panicked, and it just felt good. It felt good to get a win.
All in, Kamara had 17 carries for 55 yards. He also had 5 catches for 54 yards. Did not find the end zone on the day, but did have, a combined 100-yard day. As for Marcus Valdez-Scantling to go along with his 2 touchdowns, he only had 3 catches on the day for 109 yards. That is, only 3 catches, but the 109 yards was pretty doggone incredible. His long was 69, so there was another 42 on top of that from the other 2 catches. Meanwhile, as for Derek Carr, he was 16-25 on the day, 269 yards. More importantly, finding Valdez-Scantling for those 2 TDs. One of them, the one that was on the crossing pattern, as Valdez-Scantling was just coming across the backside of the end zone. Perfect lead, perfect pass, perfect catch, just very, very well done. And early rhythm between those 2, to be sure. So the Saints are now 3-7 overall. And, it's, if you're battling for the first draft pick, you got a ways to go down because, there's a number of teams with worse records than you. As for the Saints, after the Falcons, they move on to host the Browns next Sunday. That'll be noon o'clock right down the hall on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. After the Browns, another home game, this time against the Rams, before they hit the road against the Giants. And, boy, if anybody was up early to watch the Giants and Panthers yesterday, I'm sorry about that. What a garbage ball game that was. But those were 2 teams that are also in the running for that number 1 overall draft pick. Speaking of, when we talk about the potential of the number 1 overall draft pick, where are we at right now in the NFL to get a better look at that? What does 3-7 mean versus 2-8? Well, as it stands right now, you got the Browns, the Dolphins, the Titans, and the Jaguars, and the Raiders. My goodness, there's more. And the Giants, all only with 2 wins right now. So if you're the Saints, where it stands right now is you're not going to be in the top 5 for draft picks. If you're looking to tank, which the NFL generally doesn't tank, but if you're looking to tank to get yourself in the top 5, man, there's other teams out there that are way worse than you and way out in front of you when it comes to putting together a horrible season. We're going to get to LSU in our next segment. Before we take our break, though, so how about the Southern Jaguars moving to 5-1 in conference play, beating Bethune-Cookman 25-23, and I believe it was double overtime. Southern was trailing going into the 4th quarter, tied things up at 10, and then within the overtime periods, Southern posts up 15 points, Bethune-Cookman posts up 13. Southern gets the 25-23 win overall Kobe Dillon was good for 130 yards on the ground on 19 carries, although he never found the end zone. Their scoring came from elsewhere. But Southern, 6-4 overall, 5-1 conference, back to their winning ways. All right, LSU, I mean, it was bad. We'll talk about it next here on Talk 107.3 FM. Here's the Fox Business Report. And good morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. All right, we're going to start you up on the on I-110 this morning because there's an accident 110 northbound in between North 22nd, in between Laurel and North 22nd. It's not showing me delays just yet, but this happened about 15 minutes ago. So we have an accident with injury on 110 northbound right now. If that's where your normal morning commute is on 110 northbound, which I guess most folks would commute 110 southbound in the morning. But if you're on 110 northbound, you're going to see something as a result of that. Meanwhile, over on I-12, normal delays, actually not even. Very, very light this morning on I-12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs. You're going to find some volume back by Denham Springs. You're going to find some volume in between Airline and the merge. But other than that, I-12 westbound is looking great to start off your morning, as is I-10 westbound coming in from Prairieville, and I-10 eastbound coming across the bridge from Port Allen. Both bridges are looking good right now as well. One quick note before we check on the last surface street accident. There is a sorry, I'm scrolling through papers. Over at Iberville Parish, DOTD said yesterday one of the ferries from Iberville Parish is going to be temporarily out of service due to mechanical issues. Normally, they're able to churn through a ferry every 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes to get across, 15 minutes to get back. When you get two of them, you're rotating on a 15-minute basis. They'll be down to one today. So if you normally take the Iberville, the ferry down there at Iberville Parish, you're going to be looking at just the one of them. So it's going to double up your time to get across the river on that front. All right, back to our surface streets. There's an accident from about an hour ago, Duval at Forest View Lane, and there's a brand new stalled vehicle in the roadway, Corporate Boulevard at Commerce Drive. So be on the lookout for that as well. That's your look at traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. 626, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Man, everything was set. Everything was primed. Everything was supposed to be perfect for Saturday night. College game day was here. LSU showed up big time on the game day set. And in unison, cursed on national television. That was cool. Pat McAfee, for those who missed it, Pat McAfee described or got us to display exactly why the band's not allowed to play neck on game day. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't laughing my butt off at it, because I was. It was great. Got a big STTDB over there on college game day. It was the start of, like, you felt all the energy on campus all day long. The rain held up for tailgating for the most part all day long. I mean, a light little drizzle here and there throughout, but the vibe on campus was something special all day. I stopped in at Mathern's on my way into work on Saturday. The people were feeling good. Everything was set. Everything was primed. And then it got destroyed. For the second game in a row, LSU could not stop a running quarterback. And Alabama comes out and beats the pants off of LSU 42-13. It was an embarrassing loss. It wasn't just a loss. It was an embarrassing loss. Jalen Milroe, who threw for 109 yards, had 185 on the ground. Last year, Jalen Milroe set his personal best against LSU, 155 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. He bested that by 30 yards when LSU had 2 weeks to prepare for him. Coach Brian Kelly said what everyone thought was going to be an exciting evening turned out to be quite disappointing.
I take ownership in not getting our guys in the right position tonight, and we just did not make the best of the opportunities that we had, and then certainly a lot of things didn't go the right way tonight.
Yeah, okay. Oh, is that it? We'll just move on then. Awesome. Playoff chances are pretty much over with right now. I mean, it would take the world, everyone losing all at once repeatedly in order to get LSU back in the playoff mix. Coach Kelly says the team is going to keep on fighting till the end. We'll get ready to play in a bowl game at the end of the season.
These guys are not like, hey, we're out of the playoffs. They're disappointed, and I'm disappointed that we didn't live up to the standards of LSU football. That affects us more than the damn playoffs.
It's what I worry about is that's the kind of loss that can lose a fan base. And after that, all the negatives start becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. That's the part that worries me the most. We've got a very, very good coach who like him or not, if you wanted to start the talk about moving on from Brian Kelly, let me just say, stop that talk right here. Aside from the fact that he's a very good coach and he's made changes along the way, his buyout right now, I believe, is $63 million. So unless you've got that between your couch cushions, we could tamper that down a good bit. Greg Penn said the defense had no answers for Jalen Milroe on Saturday.
Coming into the game, I thought our game plan was really good on Milroe. Obviously, his speed is really good. You can't really account for that, like at practice and on film, until you're really in the game. So, I mean, he's just a great player. I mean, I thought our game plan was really good. Like I said, they just went out there and executed better than us.
So LSU will move on and play Florida. That's the good news there, is that Florida's in shambles right now, too. It'll be a 2:30 kickoff over on ABC. The following week, they've got Vanderbilt, which is another running quarterback. So believe it or not, beware of Vandy. Here comes news. Oh, I'm going to set up the whole rundown of guests, but we have Stephen Portnoy's calling in at 6:40. Oh, shoot. Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm dragging ass today. I worked Friday night for the LSU women's game, and then I worked all day Saturday and Saturday night. I didn't get home until after 1 a.m. on Sunday, and I was wired once I got home. I didn't even get to talk about the traffic after the game Saturday night. We're going to do that later on. So celebrated the birthday last night, and I'm not apologetic for being dragging ass today. I actually got to enjoy a couple minutes with my wife, which I friggin' love. Awesome. But I might have had one whiskey too many. And we both nodded off. Ooh, she stayed asleep, and I woke back up to go work on the show at like 1 a.m. I know. Stuff that I'm normally done by 11, and I can go to bed for 4 straight hours. I slept for an hour, hour and a half, and then got up and fell back, had to go do show stuff. Oh. Any Hoosers, that's why I'm dragging ass today. And I feel like I smell like whiskey. That's how I feel right now. I don't know if I do or
kind of night.
I don't know if I do or I don't, but I feel like I do. Facebook poll. How do you handle birthday wishes on Facebook? Do you put one big post at the end of the day saying thank you to everybody, or do you thank everybody individually?
It depends. I think in the beginning, when there's only like a few, I think it's okay to like thank individually. But once it gets out of hand and your wall's just filled up, it's just at the end of the day.
So today I'm going to go through and thank everybody individually. That's what I wait until it's all over with.
Or I'll like their comment. Maybe I won't respond, but I'll like the fact that they posted.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, just kind of a broad, hey, thanks for the birthday wish.
Oh.
Never apologize for smelling like whiskey.
Nope, not apologizing for it at all. Pulled up at the red light at Florida and Lobdell this morning because don't tell me the lights are synced, Fred. Pulled up at the red light and there's a cop right there, and I'm looking at the cop and I'm like, I don't think I'd pass a breathalyzer right now. I'm fine. I mean, it's been, at that point it had been a good 6 hours since my last drink, but I think if I blew,
yeah.
I would be like, ooh. All right. Has the rain cleared out? Or are we looking at more of it this week? When's our temperature going to start dropping? With the answer to all of these questions, here's the McCade Cowan. All the votes are in. Everything's counted up, but we don't know everything about the House just yet. ABC News' Stephen Portnoy is going to join us in about 2 minutes from right now to talk about exactly that. In fact, let me give you the whole guest list for this morning. We got Stephen Portnoy from ABC News coming up to talk about not just the congressional races, the key congressional races, but Donald Trump swept all 7 battleground states there. Total of 312 electoral votes. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. Also on the show this morning, Tony Winters is back in the house. It is Veterans Day. We're going to talk about all the events of Veterans Week when Tony's in with us. That's coming up at 6:52. Oh, nuts. What did I just do here? There we go. We've got Medical Monday coming your way at 7:15. The folks from Our Lady of the Lake. This Medical Monday is going to be Dr. Emily Cassidy talking about thoracic surgery and lung cancer. We got Will Green from LABI. That's at 7:35. Be talking about the now ongoing special session on tax reform. Where are we at right now? Really want to break down HB1. That's the biggest crux of this whole thing. That is what's going to lower state income tax, personal state income tax, from 4.5% down to 3%. But there's a stack, y'all. There's an absolute stack of tax cuts, breaks, and the like that are within this that are all going to go away as a result of it. So, talk with Will Green about that at 7:35. In the 8 o'clock hour, Moon Griffon joins us at 8:15. We'll talk with Moon about basically everything out there, from Trump's victory last week to the House to the Senate to our own. Man, when we had Moon on last week, we talked about the possibility of Elbert Guillory pushing to a runoff. That did not happen, and that was disappointing. to say the least. So we got Moon at 8:15, and then 8:35. I'm waiting yet for a confirmation, but I don't want to spoil it because we don't necessarily have a guest right there, but hopefully we will. Right now, though, let's go ahead and dive in. We've been breaking down last week's election from a number of different angles. We have spoken to a number of different guests about it. ABC News' Stephen Portnoy is going to be on the phone with us. He should be on in like exactly 1 minute. Before we get to Stephen, though, want to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. I did swing by Mathern's on both Friday and Saturday. Just popping in for dinner because I was working Friday night, and then popping in for some snacks because I was working all day Saturday. And both times earning cash towards more groceries just by buying what I already needed. It's so convenient, y'all. It's so convenient to have the Mathern's Rewards app. You get to take advantage of the deals of the week every week. You also get to take advantage of, if you're student, faculty, or staff over at LSU, a bonus 10% off every single day. When you download the Mathern's Rewards app, if you enter that at lsu.edu email address, they're going to email you a 10% off coupon every single day. It does not negate the deals that are already there. It does not negate earning cash towards more groceries. This is Lanyap. This is on top of it. A bonus 10% off every single day for students, faculty, and staff. They're in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. It's Mathern's. All right, joining us now with a little further breakdown of what went down last week is ABC News' national correspondent on Washington, Stephen Portnoy. Stephen, good morning. Welcome back to Talk 107.3. How are you, man?
Hey, good morning. Good to be with you.
No, glad to have you on. Before we get into the president's race, because I feel like that's been talked about ad nauseum, where are we at with the congressional races? I mean, is everybody accounted for at this point?
No, and so it's hard to pin it down, but suffice it to say we're still waiting on a number of uncalled House races. So I'd say that it's at this point likely that the Republicans will have a slim majority in the House in the next Congress, but there are 16 races that will make this majority one way or the other, and they're yet to be decided. In those 16, the Republican leads in half, and the Democrats lead in the other half. And so the Republicans now have, by our estimate, 214 seats in the House. They need 218. So if, let's just say, half of the 16 that are uncalled go the Republicans' way, well, that would give them a majority, but a slim one of just 4 seats.
All right. Well, so a 4-seat majority, though, is, I mean, number one, it is still a majority, but it's way too slim to take any chances with. But going into Election Day, there was a lot of question about whether they would retain the House. That was a really big question. That being said, though, a 4-seat majority coming out with Donald Trump getting that kind of mandate, I mean, I'll call it a mandate. He took all 7 swing states. To only get a 4-seat majority, is that a Republican win? I mean, is that part of a red wave? Or when you see the results from the president's race, should there have been more in the House?
There'll be a bunch of different ways to slice it. One way you could look at it is the idea that Kamala Harris underperformed candidates for Senate in certain states, right? For example, if you look at some of the swing states that the president-elect won, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, ABC News projects the Democratic Senate candidates win on the same ballots where people chose Donald Trump instead, rather than Kamala Harris. So you've got Democratic senators being sent to Washington, despite the fact that those same voters chose Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris. And you'll also see a similar dynamic in the House, which suggests that Donald Trump was a major force, and the country shifted in his direction, but it wasn't necessarily to the same extent for their representatives in Congress. Now, certainly the Republicans will have control of the Senate.
Yes.
We see that. And so that definitely bolsters the idea that there's a mandate for the Republicans here. The challenge for the president when it comes to governing and getting his agenda through is that Republican margin, if there's going to be one, in the House. Because you can't do anything unless, the things that Trump wants to do without unified government. And let's see how it all shakes out. But right now, as I say, the Republicans are favored to have a very narrow majority.
We're talking with ABC News' Stephen Portnoy about the some of the congressional races that are yet to be decided. Stephen, has anybody given hints, clues, whatever, as to like how much longer this is going to take?
I wish I knew. It's one of the great mysteries of our time is how decision desks at the network exactly arrive at the mathematical equation. But suffice it to say, they do run a formula, that has to do with the outstanding vote as they expect it, as they are aware of it, versus the likelihood that that outstanding vote could wind up having someone who's trailing overtake the person who's in the lead. Beyond that, there's the idea that if the person is behind, they haven't conceded. And that's the case in Pennsylvania, where there are certain news outlets that have projected that Dave McCormick, the Republican Senate candidate in Pennsylvania, has defeated the Democratic incumbent Bob Casey. But Casey has not conceded. The lead right now in the tabulated vote is 0.6 percentage points, or about 40,000 votes. Casey's not giving up a fight. He might have the ability to ask for a recount or some other kind of maneuvering. There may be some provisional ballots. I'm not sure. Suffice it to say, all of that is part of the reason. All of that winds up forming the reason why ABC News has not made a projection.
Last one before we get you out of here. We're talking with ABC's Stephen Portnoy about some of the congressional races that are still outstanding. Stephen, last one before we get you out of here. Normally when we see delays and such, it's at the top of the ticket or at the top of the ballot. Is this just a matter of we're all forgetting that this happens from time to time, or is this unusual to have 16 congressional races still floating 6 days later?
To the extent it's unusual, it's a function of the way that voting has changed. Yeah. In the states that have mail-in balloting, and the largest state in the country, California, does, we're still waiting for outstanding ballots. In fact, more than 20% of the expected vote in California has still yet to be counted. You remember in the days before the election, Kamala Harris sent her ballot to California by mail from Washington, D.C. She did it, I think, the weekend before the election. They allow you to do that, which means the theory is that the U.S. Postal Service is still carrying active ballots into the elections offices in California. And in that state, there are a number of key congressional districts in the central part of the state particularly that will make this majority one way or the other, and they're simply too close for us to call.
He is ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy. We always appreciate the time, man. Thanks for a couple minutes.
You bet.
Thank you. He is Stephen Portnoy. Always great insight from Stephen. But it does bring up that question, like, is this the norm or the new norm, I guess? Just sitting and waiting? Yeah. Quick break. We'll check your money now. We'll check traffic continuing next on Talk 107.3. Excuse me. Let me go see if Tony's here. Oh.
I guess we'll see, Patrick. I guess we'll see. Let's see, Byron. I didn't post my birthdays on too much obligation. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, is there any pressure to just respond? I guess not, but yeah. Some people feel that pressure, others don't, to respond to half-hearted posts. Renee says she usually tries to thank individually. Oh yeah, I remember this.
After the show, we got Monday meeting. Then I got an interview with Tim Matheson, which I'm super duper looking forward to.
See that? Yeah.
He's the author of the book Damn Glad to Meet You. It's about his 7 decades in Hollywood.
7 decades.
And I'm sure most of the people that talk to him want to talk to him about Animal House. I want to talk to him about The West Wing.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we'll talk about the book, but, you know, whatever. Kyle might be calling the hotline. Let's move up cuts 4, 5, and 6 to right here. I mean, if I'm going to do something else first, and then I got a 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. What is this? This song, yeah, turn your mic on. What is this song?
This song is "Rock the House" by Gorillaz.
It sounds like a dystopian, post-apocalyptic game show theme.
I can hear it.
Right?
I can hear that. I'm experimenting, Brian. I'm experimenting.
I'm not against it at all. I like the freshness of it.
Yeah, there is something.
I never took a lesson on that flute.
I like how it's so unpolished, where it's just what is going on here?
But no, when they had the trumpet coming in. Yeah.
Loving the trumpet impression. Yeah.
It's 6:53 and Talk 107. I love Gorillas, by the way. Both the group and the actual animal. It's 6:53 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're supposed to be running down the events of Veterans Week in this segment, and our boy Tony Winters is supposed to be in with us. I'm not seeing him here, so hopefully we can connect with somebody on the hotline, either Tony or Kyle, just to give a rundown of the whole thing. While we do that, though, we got a lot to cover here. So, all right, did you stick it out Saturday night, whole way through? Did you stay in Tiger Stadium for that whooping the whole way through? If you did, you were likely stuck in traffic on the way out. You were likely cursing BRPD and the University Police, saying, "Why is contraflow so terrible?" Well, it wasn't that contraflow was terrible. It was that you had the rain, the volume, and people wanting to play bumper cars. There were at one time, after the game was over, I'm sitting in the studio. We don't normally do a traffic report on the post-game show over on our sister station, Eagle 98.1 for the LSU Sports Radio Network. We don't normally do a traffic report. We did 2 because at one time there were 16 accidents being worked between BRPD and LSU PD. Now, a couple of those might have been a duplication, but even if there were duplicates, it still only would have been 13. 13 accidents being worked to where Nicholson by Lee was pretty much closed. 3 different spots along Highland were shut down. You had a spot along River Road between LSU and downtown that was closed off. You had, if you broaden things all the way out to Perkins, you had closures. I mean, there was no getting out of there Saturday night. And I mean, the only thing worse than taking that beating is having to sit in your own stew afterwards. You sat there through the rain. You sat there through the drubbing. And then you go get back in your car and you're just all wet and nasty. And you just sat there on Nicholson, on Lee, on wherever you were, Highland, wherever your route out was. You should have sit through it. I mean, that just made it all the worse. After such a great day. I mean, tailgating was on point. Game day was on point. All of it until kickoff, and the bottom just fell out. And then when the rain started, the bottom fell out even further. But looking back on it, if you missed out on all, if you were just wondering, why are we just sitting here all night long? That's why. It was as a result of all the accidents that were out there. So I'm guessing this is a no-go for the Veterans Week stuff. No worries. We're going to move on. We got way too much to talk about this morning. You heard that story from our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network at the bottom of the hour? Is it possible that Governor Jeff Landry, who, oh, by the way, final takeaways on the fake Tiger, on the fake Mike, final takeaways on Omar. Were you in the stadium? If so, post up on Talk 1073's Facebook page what you thought about the actual showing of Omar the Tiger. Was it worthwhile? Obviously, that was the juice the football team needed to get moving. Obviously, that was the intimidation factor that was going to curtail Alabama's enthusiasm. By the way, if you haven't seen, the nickname Jeff Exotic is growing. I mean, the governor went out of his way to bring in a tiger. He kind of has to wear that one for a little while. That's going to stick. Jeff Exotic. All right, let's keep moving on. But post up on our Facebook page, Talk 1073. We're live on Facebook every single day. Get in the chat about that. So the New York Post says Governor Landry is a potential candidate to be Attorney General in President Donald Trump's administration. Landry, who became voted in overwhelmingly last year, served as the state's Attorney General before that. So this would not be an unheard of or an unprecedented naming to a post. Analyst Bernie Pincinat, as you heard at the bottom of the hour, says Landry has his hands full right now as governor.
He's in the middle of trying to reassemble Louisiana and keep the state afloat, keep people from leaving Louisiana. I mean, there's so many problems in Louisiana.
Okay, yes, but what would it say about Louisiana's representation on a national scale if Jeff Landry moved on to be Attorney General of the United States, and then couple that with the talk from a few weeks ago about the possibility of Garrett Graves being Transportation Secretary? We would be primed right there to be in a great spot. We'll pick the story up a little bit later on, but I'm loving the idea of it, because when you look at it from a 10,000-foot view, it's locally we could do just fine. Locally we could do just fine moving on to Billy Nungesser. Nationally, it would broaden out a whole lot more to have Jeff Landry in that spot. Okay, Tony Winters is on with us right now. Tony, good morning. Welcome back. How are you, man?
I'm doing outstanding. How are you today?
I am very well as well. I thought you were in with us today. You double booked?
No, that Saints game got the best of me. And then double traffic in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. I'm actually outside I'm on Government Street right now. Not far from the studio. But Veterans Day, this is the greatest day God has ever made. This is my Christmas, by the way.
I tell you what, let's push pause right here. Are you on your way to the studio?
I sure am.
All right, we'll make room for you in the next hour. So we'll see you shortly. All right. He is Tony Winters. Yes, it is. Obviously, we need to celebrate Veterans Day the right way, so we will get him in studio in our next hour. Right now, it's time for news, traffic, weather. Hour 2 is next. I'll blow out top stories and trending because there was nothing really a top story that was pressing. Shit is real.
I could tell, man. Dang. Jeez.
Wait, Rich. Yeah. Did you hear Brandon? Well, more to the point, he is the company. He's got to be. So wrong. Yeah. Right. I mean, and it's not for. Dude, you sound tired. Yeah, I do. No, not today. At the end of the game, which I don't blame you. Oh shit! Yeah. But you good? You all right? Yeah, I'm dragging ass today, Rich. finally celebrated the birthday yesterday, so I feel like I smell like whiskey. Eagle Rare, by the way. All right. 7:05 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Whew, everybody's kind of in recovery mode from the weekend. I mean, that was it's just so brutal the way it came down. It was just such a bludgeoning of a game. Anyway, well, Coach Brian Kelly will have his weekly press conference. We carry that. I guess it's noonish over in our sister station 104.5 ESPN, right in the middle of Live at Lunch. Ott and Haney. They start off, they break, they toss it to that. What do you say if you're Brian Kelly this morning? What do you say that's going to make it better? What can you say that's going to make it better? I don't know. I feel like when you rewind the clock back to Ed Ogeron's last year, before he was fired, when he was kind of that, like, we all knew it was coming, but there were a lot of things that Ed Ogeron was saying there that Brian Kelly's already starting to say now, and I don't want to hear these things simply because I don't want this to be that self-fulfilling prophecy. It's so much harder to get the you-know-what back in the horse. So let's keep it in the horse before it gets let out. Keep the horse in the barn, as it were. It's saying things like not up to the LSU standard. I have to coach them better. All these things that when you start adding them up, it's like, man, we've heard this song before. We've seen this movie. It doesn't end well. And I don't think we want to be at that point with a coach who came in with so much promise and actually has things pointed in the should be. Results-wise, wins and losses-wise, it's not in the right direction yet because we stand to be at the same spot we were last year and the year before. But while it's not in the same spot, wins and losses, we're starting to see it be put together. Like aside from the running quarterback, do you feel like Blake Baker's the right man to defense coordinator? I do. On the flip side, are we looking better on offense? And I know if you got problems with Nussmeier, you got the number one quarterback in the country coming in potentially next year. So it's starting to materialize, but we as a fan base have to exercise something we never exercise, and that is patience. So I will talk about all that at a later time. Right now it's time for top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
A teenager was taken to the hospital in critical condition Saturday night after a shooting up in Baker. Officials said the victim was shot along Florida Avenue, which is off of Main Street. Chief Carl Dunn said 2 juveniles, who are friends, were in a bedroom with a gun. Unclear if the gun was fired intentionally or accidentally. And as it stands right now, 1 teenager was shot. The other was taken in for questioning.
Number 4.
Let's talk about the PERT Lab a little bit. A new kind of technology is being developed at LSU in collaboration with the College of Engineering, with Halliburton and ExxonMobil to research carbon capture technology. We actually talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago. We had LSU and ExxonMobil in to talk about it. Dominic Giannetti is the Senior Vice President for Low Carbon Solutions at ExxonMobil. He tells our news partners at WBRZ, he's excited to work with the latest project at the PERT Lab. PERT, P-E-R-T-T, stands for Petroleum Engineering Research, Training, and Testing. He said, today we're celebrating the spudding of a research well to test carbon capture in a real-world environment. It's becoming a reality.
Number 3.
We're down to a tropical depression, or I guess a post-depression, as it were, in the Gulf of Mexico. What was once Hurricane Rafael is now post-tropical cyclone Rafael. Maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. It's a little bit further north than where it was on Friday when we last talked about it. But it did its little loop-de-loop, and it's going to continue to move south now. So I know it is Veterans Day. It is November 11th. We should be able to say we're done with hurricane season. And after Rafael clears out, there's no other activity expected for the next 48 hours.
Number 2.
Initial unemployment insurance claims picked up a little bit last week, according to the latest figures. They rose by they rose by a single filing to 1,572 for the week ending November 2nd. The previous week saw claims drop by 12%. Initial claims were also 11.7% lower than they were for the same period last year.
Number 1.
The owner of the Florida Wildlife Company that brought us Omar Bradley, the tiger, said Sunday the young tiger who served as the replacement for Mike VII ahead of the LSU game was never stressed during his appearance before 103,000 screaming fans. Mitchell Colmanson, who's been cited numerous times for the way he treats his tigers, in a negative way actually, said in an interview with WBRZ, Omar Bradley, the 18-month-old Bengal, had grown accustomed to Tiger Stadium during trips into the stadium on Thursday and Friday. Stadium crews attempted to simulate what Tiger Stadium can be like on a Saturday night. So they had the noise, they had the music, they had the flashy lights and the like. Look, I was in the stadium, but I'm kind of in the bowels of the stadium for the game. If you were in that number, post up over on our Facebook page. What were your takeaways from having a Tiger back in Tiger Stadium? Was it worth doing again? I mean, obviously the results of the game probably say not, but what were your takeaways? Let me know. We're on Facebook Live. What's trending there, John?
Well, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is blaming the return of Donald Trump to the White House on Joe Biden, saying the current president should have stepped aside sooner.
Yeah, look, there's blame being pointed in every direction. Here's the thing, though. How much sooner? I think that's the real question here. I think as they go back through with 2020, hindsight being 2020, as they go back through, they're going to find, you know what? We should have primaried him. We should have had an open primary to get the people's take on where the party should head. Because the way they did it was the ultimate disenfranchisement. Everybody 4 years ago voted for Joe Biden to be the nominee. Nobody put Kamala Harris fourth. She dropped out before they got any real states. She had, fewer than 1,000 votes in the 2 or 3 states that she did get, or she was in for. So you got to make it open to everybody. You can't have buy-in unless you got buy-in.
Right. Yeah. Making it fair. Making it fair. Hey, in other news, Elon Musk backed the right horse. Tesla stock and the market talk continue to soar into the weekend.
Yeah. Tesla stock is on its way back up.
Like
SpaceX is on its way back up. Will Twitter rebound financially under a Trump presidency? I mean, we've been told for 2 years now that Twitter's going to die any day.
Yeah.
But it still keeps plugging along. And now if you're Elon, you got a million reasons why you want to keep that thing going. You got a new administration coming in. You've survived the worst of it as far as fending off competitors and whatnot. So,
yes, indeed. I guess time will tell. Hey, look, today, since it's Veterans Day, recent studies show that roughly 1 in 4 veterans suffer from PTSD. And while we are playing catch up to see that those who are suffering are helped, another recent study said the first study underestimated the number by a third.
Yeah, so the second study wasn't as in-depth, but as far as the the levels of PTSD and the treatment and all that other good stuff. But the second one definitely showed more people in it. I saw this one late yesterday, late yesterday afternoon. It's alarming. It's alarming. Yes. And we, on this Veterans Day, we need to admit that we can all do a better job of taking care of those who have protected our freedoms, taking care of those who have helped ensure our way of life. It's needed. It's so needed. All right, we're coming up on, we're at 7:13 at Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break, Medical Mondays next.
Yeah, that was actually Emily who had called.
Huh?
That was actually Emily who had called during Top Stories.
Yeah.
But she'll call back. So. Yeah, Tony, he's good? Like everything?
Yeah. Yeah, he said he's somewhere on Government Street. Meanwhile, Kyle sent his text that he was on 10 at college, so he's in the vicinity. The good news is the longer it takes him to get here, the easier it is to squeeze into 7:55. Oh.
heard of a group called the Hotel LABI? Yeah, that's literally the name of the group.
Okay.
I'm going to play something from them coming up.
Okay.
Let me know if you dig it. It seems kind of in that wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? Hey, there we go.
There she is.
Studio.
Seven 716 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is a Monday, and we love our partnership with our folks over at Our Lady of the Lake. It's time for Medical Monday. And today we're talking lung cancer, and we welcome in thoracic surgeon, Dr. Emily Cassidy. Dr. Cassidy, welcome back to Talk 107.3. How are you this morning?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing really well as well. We got a lot of ground to cover here talking about lung cancer. I want to start off with the basics. Let's talk about symptoms. What should folks be looking out for?
So symptoms of lung cancer can vary. I guess the most common is shortness of breath. Also cough could be a symptom, atypical type chest pain. But really the vast majority of lung cancers are asymptomatic. So most of the time, like over 90% of the time, we find lung cancer, when it's found incidentally if a scan was done for screening or for another reason.
Okay, so if it's found incidental, I mean, it kind of feels like a scary scenario because with just about every cancer out there, early detection is the key to getting yourself on the right road here. So how do we go about detecting other than, a random screening?
Yeah. So if you meet the criteria for lung cancer screening, which is patients who are aged 50 to 80 and are either currently smoking or former smokers, and there is a certain number of cigarettes per year that we calculate. But if you meet those criteria, you should be getting an annual CT scan. That means every year getting a CT scan to look for lung cancer at its earliest stages. And those CT scans are covered 100% by Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurers. So it doesn't come at any cost to you. It should just be part of your routine maintenance. But there are still a lot of lung cancers that we find in patients who are either not getting screened or who are not eligible for screening. So we have a program at Our Lady of the Lake where all CT scans that are performed throughout our whole hospital system, if there's anything that's concerning that's picked up on a CT scan, we've got a software that can tag that scan and put it, into our inbox here in the thoracic surgery department for evaluation. So we're trying to capture all of the ones that are found, whether they're found on screening or on any other imaging.
We're talking with Dr. Emily Cassidy, thoracic surgeon over at Our Lady of the Lake, about lung cancer this morning. Is it curable?
Yes, absolutely, especially when you find it in the earliest stages. So what we've been able to do with this lung nodule program, which is where we are finding the screening nodules, but also the ones that are incidentally detected, we bring all of those nodules to a multidisciplinary team of doctors for discussion so that a treatment plan can be sorted out. And what we found is through this effort with this nodule detection, we are now capturing about 70% of those lung cancers when they're at stage 1.
Oh, wow.
And the reason that lung cancer has been so lethal is because it's typically caught at stage 4. So the prognosis at stage 4 is much different than the prognosis at stage 1. So by capturing 70% at stage 1, we're able to offer those patients a surgical procedure where we take their lung cancer out. And oftentimes they don't even require any chemotherapy or radiation therapy or anything other than surgical removal. So it really is a game changer, to be diagnosed with a stage 1 lung cancer versus a more advanced stage lung cancer.
Okay, I want to talk about removal in just a little bit. We're talking with Dr. Emily Cassidy from Our Lady of the Lake about lung cancer. I want to talk about removal in just a little bit, but let's stick with the stages here. I know that, most cancers out there have their different stages. What do the 4 stages look like when it comes to lung cancer?
So for stage 1 lung cancer, it's really just kind of confined to the lung tissue itself, meaning it hasn't spread beyond. Once you get a little bit more advanced to stages 2 and 3, there's some lymph node spread. So the tumor is still in the lung, but it's now some of the cells from that tumor have spread on to the surrounding lymph nodes. And then once you progress to stage 4, that's where the lung cancer has spread to other distant organs like the brain or the adrenal gland or the bones. And, all cancers are obviously, it's more favorable to diagnose a cancer at stage 1 than stage 4. The lower stage is a good sign. But really in lung cancer, it's even more impactful when we think about those survival curves because, a stage 1A1 lung cancer has a 92% 5-year survival, meaning that 92% of those patients will still be alive in 5 years. And it kind of just decreases incrementally from there as that stage advances. So the message I think we really want to get out here is that, early detection is key for lung cancer. If we can find it early and remove it, we know that those patients are doing really, really well on the whole, even 5, 10, 15, 20 years out.
All right, that's the win. Let's talk about the who before we get to the removal as well. But the who, obviously smokers have to be in that number. That's the one I think we all know. Who else should be on the lookout and aware when it comes to lung cancer?
So to qualify for the screening, you do have to be either a current or former smoker, but there are other people that have increased risk. Certainly patients with a family history or extensive exposure to secondhand smoke, perhaps occupational exposures. We see some of our plant workers who've had occupational exposure show up with lung cancer. And I mean, even though we talk so much about it being linked to cigarette smoking, which it is, 15% of lung cancers are in patients who have never smoked a cigarette. So, we're still understanding all of the biochemistry behind all of those processes, but it's not a direct cause and effect. We do see non-smokers get lung cancer. So it is something that everyone needs to be aware of.
Talk with Dr. Emily Cassidy. This is Medical Monday presented by Our Lady of the Lake. We're talking about lung cancer. All right, let's go to removal because this is one area where there have been ridiculous advancements. Dr. Cassidy, my sister had lung cancer. About 15 years ago, basically had to have her rib cage cracked open in order to get at it. This is an area where y'all have done, just literally doing God's work to make it so much easier on the patient.
Absolutely. So there has been a ton of technology surrounding these kind of procedures in the last few years. And it's not just the surgical removal, it's even one step behind that with the biopsy. Mm-hmm. So we've got a robotic bronchoscopy system. It's called ION, I-O-N. And what it does is it has the technology to find these teeny tiny lung nodules. And with a very small, skinny scope with a bendable needle, you can have a procedure where that scope goes down the throat and out to that lung nodule and is able to take needle samples. So it's very specific, it's very technologically advanced, and it's giving us the answer as to what these nodules are much earlier in the process. And then when we do find an early stage lung cancer is when we talk about surgery. Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned, it used to be a very large incision, breaking ribs, very invasive, and the recovery time from that was really significant.
Brutal.
What we've done now is gotten minimally invasive techniques. So we do the surgery robotically now. And what that means for patients is much smaller incisions, an easier, more technologically fine dissection. And the surgery now doesn't take as long in the operating room. Patients don't have to stay in the hospital as long. In fact, some are going home the same day. So it's really shifted, which used to be a much, much bigger, more difficult operation to something that more patients can tolerate.
We're talking with Dr. Emily Cassidy about lung cancer in this Medical Monday, which is, of course, presented by the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake. The advancements are really, really ridiculous. When you talk about
my gosh, it's crazy.
The laser and the robotic surgery, walk us through a little bit about how robotic surgery works. I know you can't give us too in depth, but the 10,000-foot view about how robotic surgery works and why it makes it so much easier.
So I think, one of the things is the smaller incisions, and particularly in the chest, that's really important because to get to the area of the chest where the lungs are, you have to go between the ribs. Mm-hmm. And I tell my patients, if you kind of roll a finger between your ribs, it's not very much space between those ribs. So to make a big, large incision is really painful, whereas those smaller ones are just so much better tolerated. And then in terms of the instrumentation itself, so once you enter the chest cavity, I think of the prior iterations of minimally invasive surgery were all using straight instruments. So, picture yourself kind of using chopsticks to do an operation. Whereas these robotic instruments, they're called wristed instruments, meaning that they're able to move and rotate just like your hand does at your wrist. So it's just the specificity and the precision is so much better. The visualization is also amazing. This technology allows us to like magnify up times 10. So even things that you can't see as specifically with your naked eye, during an open operation, you're now able to see in great specificity because it's so magnified up. So, I mean, it's really opening a whole kind of Pandora's box, I think, as to what's possible in thoracic surgery by having this level of technology at our fingertips.
So the area to make the incision is very small. I would imagine pulling the cancer back out, what would you do? You cut up it into pieces?
No. Well, we do put it in a bag, and it's a specifically shaped bag that helps it slide out through a small incision a little bit easier, kind of a long, skinny bag.
Okay.
But the incision that we make to take the cancer out, we make kind of way low down so that we're not limited between the ribs. We've got a little bit more space. So we do have to extend one of those incisions a little bit, but I mean, it's like a couple of inches, as opposed to the incision that it sounds like your sister may have had.
Oh no, hers was, that was, like I said,
huge.
15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, and the recovery time is just so brutal,
exactly.
to be sure.
I mean, this has been a game changer. It used to be that we were reluctant to operate on patients who were up in age or had other medical problems. But I think now that we've made the surgical part so much more well tolerated, I mean, we're operating on patients in their 90s sometimes because it's just an easier operation than what it used to be.
All right. So if someone thinks they might be in this number, somebody wants in on the screening here, what do they need to do?
So there's two different ways to go about it. I mean, the first way I think is to talk to your primary care doctor and see if they can get you signed up for screening. You could order a screening scan that way. Or if you don't have a primary care doctor, or if your primary care doctor is uncomfortable ordering the test, then you can either go through our website or you can call our office directly at 225-215-0250. And there's kind of a short, questionnaire to make sure that you meet the eligibility criteria. And if you do, then we go ahead and schedule that scan for you. We authorize it through insurance to make sure you're not coming out of pocket. And that's really about it. And once you're enrolled, we remind you every year, similar to other screening tests that you need to get done, like your colonoscopy and your mammogram and things like that. We try and make sure to remind you every year, hey, it's time to come get that scan. But yeah, that's about it.
She is
Dr. That easy.
Yeah. It actually is. That's the amazing part is that when you have something that sounds like it could be so cumbersome, but the way that the lasers and the robotics and the technology and y'all's level of expertise has grown over the years, it really is night and day from where we used to be. She is Dr. Emily Cassidy, a thoracic surgeon with Our Lady of the Lake. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good day, Brian.
You do the same. We're coming up on 729 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. All right, here's how we're going to do this, okay? We got Tony coming in, but we got Will Green from LABI. Will's going to be up next in our next segment, and we're going to see if we can't move a couple things around to free up some minutes on the back end to make sure that we can give Veterans Week its due. So that's still to come. We got to hit news, traffic, and weather before we do that, though, which is on its way in just a little bit. First, got to tell you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. ParishBuilt.com is the website. ParishBuilt.com. 364-1007 is the phone number. Do business with someone you know. Look, the hurricane season basically in our rearview mirror at this point. We're not officially done just yet, but it's basically in our rearview mirror. Rafael was not a problem for us. It did a little dance out in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's petering out now. This is the time. This is the time that you want to hop on parishbuilt.com or call 364-1007. Get them up on your roof. Get them to give your roof a look. I mean, if you're looking at your roof, would you even know what you're looking for damage? I know I didn't know what I was looking at, so I called them up. Zach went up on my roof, and now I'm in the process of getting a new roof. They like to say do business with someone you know. And it means so much to do business with someone you know. It's do business with someone who's going to take care of you through the insurance adjustment process and every step along the way that goes along with that to make sure that you're taken care of. Someone you can call, someone you can text, someone who's going to call you back, someone who's going to text you back. Do business with someone you know at parishbuilt.com. All right. No. I'm guessing no. Okay. So at 47, I'm going to toss to break because that should be 2 minutes of spots plus the 1 minute traffic. Walks us right up to your money now, so I can come right back in on the back end of your money now. Now, my internal ecosystem is just dead to me right now. I'm just. Christy's like, "You want one more?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have one more." And I moved over. Well, finished off my bottle of Old Elk, so I must have finished off my bottle of Eagle Rare, and I moved over to Old Elk, and I'm like, I really shouldn't be drinking this much good whiskey, but I'm not gonna drink some like because I know I'll be out of commission tomorrow. Okay. And then, like, we got caught up on Blue Bloods, and then we watched a couple episodes of The West Wing.
Yeah.
And then I wanted her to watch an episode of The Newsroom, and she fell asleep promptly. And I'm like, I fell asleep too.
Let's say that's a lot.
And I woke back up at like about quarter to one.
Ooh.
I'm like, I got 5 segments I got to prep for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Oh, shoot. Oh. Do my eyes deceive me, or are we seeing cooler temps before the week is out? Here's your full forecast from WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan. Mm-hmm. 737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Every Monday, we get caught up with the folks over the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, a.k.a. LABI. They're your state's Chamber of Commerce, and you can learn more about them at labi.org. They're headed up by their president and CEO, Will Green, who's on with us right now. Will, welcome back, man. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Brian. Happy Veterans Day. Certainly appreciate all those that serve to make this country great.
100%, yes, absolutely. Did yesterday's rain flush Saturday's loss?
So, Brian, all I remember is the Saints beating the Falcons, and I want to celebrate that, my friend.
I'll take it. I'm liking Coach Rizzi, by the way. His voice, he sounds like and he sounds like Super Dave Osborne. So I'll take that as well. Back to business over the state capitol today. HB1 moving forward late last week. This is Julie Emerson's bill. This is the main one that's going to knock down personal income tax from 4.5% to 3%. The digest, not the full print of this thing, the digest of this thing is 9 pages long. Will, have you dove in on HB1 yet?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, a lot of bills moving last week, including House Bill 1 by the chairwoman Emerson. It'll reduce the individual income tax to a flat 3% rate. Also revises individual income triggers. And so that was one of several bills that I know the governor prioritized to try to make our tax climate more competitive. The franchise tax repeal moved out of committee, as well as the corporate income tax. And so several of the governor's top priorities moved out of committee last week pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. That's not to say there wasn't a lot of discussion and a lot of questions surrounding the application of these, because as you said, the bills are long, taxes are complicated to understand in many ways. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of conversations about, does this bill connect with another bill, and is this part of the package? And How does it work with the package? And so I think they're ironing out all that now in committee and plan to continue discussion on the floor this week.
Talk with Will Green from LABI about the ongoing special session on tax reform. Will, when you take a look at the whole package, though, nobody's going to like 100% of it. So what does that mean when it comes to garnering votes? I mean, are we going to see, are there going to be bills where folks are going to have to hold their nose at some items because there's so much lumped into them?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's going to have to talk to their constituents, look at the bills, and see what, affects their district most under the umbrella of we've got to move Louisiana forward. We've got to uncomplicate our tax system. We've got to make our tax system more competitive to not only grow our businesses here in Louisiana, but attract more business talent here to Louisiana. And so, we looked at all the legislation last week, and again, big picture, we support getting, lowering the corporate income. We support lowering personal income. We support getting rid of the franchise tax, and we support everything that the package is attempting to do. Now, as you said, there's some details in there that give us some concern, and Jim Patterson, my VP of policy, and that really focuses his specialties in the tax area. He went to the table last week and he talked about concerns with increasing the threshold to get rid of or to add on exemptions, exclusions, and credits from a simple majority to a 2/3 vote. We're not sure that many states require that high of a threshold to give businesses a tax break. And then in addition to that, he went down and he testified on the inventory tax. We talked about that a lot last week, Brian, and why that's such a uncompetitive, regressive tax. We're one of 9 states that fully taxes inventory.
Yeah.
One measure last week that passed out of committee would get rid of the credit without fully repealing the tax. And so what we talked about was the tax is levied on property at the local level, and then currently you file your return at the state level and you get a credit for that. That legislation would say you've still got to pay the tax at the local level, but the credit you normally get back to make that tax a little bit better is repealed. Now, they're repealing that in favor of a local option, but again, there's a lot of questions surrounding that as well.
Will Green from LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, is our guest. Will, is there, as I look at, and I'm way over fixated on HB1, by the way, because there's so many different deductions that are available right now that will go away if HB1 passes. And like, for example, the tax credit for state gasoline, motor fuel, and special fuels taxes paid for the operation of a commercial fishing boat. It's just one of maybe 24 examples within the bill of something that will go away. Now, if you broaden things out to the whole package, yes, we're hopefully setting up a better playing field for those commercial fishermen. But at the same time, though, why wouldn't we fix all the things that are wrong before taking away the things that have helped them in the past? Does that question even make sense? You see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And look, that's a question that was debated and asked in committee to not only the author, but to Secretary Nelson and to Secretary Bourgeois, who is, kind of say the chief business development officer for the state.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the idea is overall, if we make our tax system more competitive, less complicated, lower rates, then some of the exemptions and exclusions that were necessary to sort of put Band-Aids on what had been bad tax policy won't be necessary. You've healed those wounds with lower income, lower corporate, getting rid of the franchise, broadening the base. And so that was generally the answer. Now, what we've told our members, Brian, is each individual business has to look and say, okay, if my exemption goes away and I've got to pay more in services, does that offset the fact that my corporate or my personal is going down and I don't have to pay franchise anymore? And so, each individual business has to make that decision individually, whether it helps them or hurts them. And we've asked for that information. Some have concerns, I know, with regard to the inventory tax and that credit going away. I'm sure some, like the voters you just mentioned, have some concerns with their exclusions going away.
Well, and one of the things that I've seen, like the film tax credit, we're going to have it was set to end in 2031. They're going to revamp that one to end in 2025. So I'm seeing with a lot of these, Will, the possibility of being kind of on the clock for a little while to prove their worth, if you will. Like, while everything else on the inventory and franchise tax, while that's all being fixed, there's going to be this like qualifying period to say, let's reapply or let's retest out different tax credits and deductions along the way that, those that are worth it can earn their way back in.
Yes, I mean the point of a lot of these credits and exemptions are in order to make us more attractive for business, in order to make it easier to do business, to encourage business, to say, look, you come here, you invest here, you hire here, you pay your taxes, and you grow your industry here. In return for that, we'll help you offset some of that cost with an exclusion or deduction, because in return for that, we know we're getting so much more back in return. We're getting payroll taxes.
Right.
The more people you hire, they're going to build houses. They're going to spend money at grocery stores. And so these exclusions and deductions are supposed to be a win-win, a win for the business to grow and thrive, and a win for the state, because in return, there's all that trickle-down money. Now, I think what the secretary is trying to figure out, both Secretary Nelson and Bourgeois, with leadership, are which ones actually have that return and which don't.
Right.
She's talking. I know Secretary Bourgeois has been out all over the country talking to businesses, asking them, if you're not coming to Louisiana, why? And what does matter to you? Is it the movie tax credit? Is it quality jobs? Is it the digital software, R&D? What credits really matter that have that win-win return on our investment?
See, and there's the crux of it, Will, right there, is that's going to depend on what industry you're talking to at the time as to which tax credit they actually like. So it's just, we got so much more to sift through, but we're just straight up out of time for this morning. This week, as this week wears on, what are you looking to see advance? I got 60 seconds left. What are you looking for this week?
Yeah. Well, so we talked about, the tax deductions, income, corporate, franchise, passed out. Now it's going to be interesting because the pay-fors are coming, right?
Yep.
Digital goods, that's going to be interesting. How that's defined is very important. Then you got the services, you got the penny being renewed. And so those are the things that we're really getting interesting as we move forward. How are we going to pay for these tax deductions?
Yeah, we're looking to see what kind of lobbyists Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn hire for the pet grooming industry. In the meanwhile, he's Will Green from LABI. We always appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Quick break, coming back, talking Veterans Week next. All right, so run all the way through traffic, and that should time us out to the spot from Your Money Now so that we're cleared. All right. Twice now the Dumb and Dumber jokes have just fallen on deaf ears. I'm standing by it.
It's a shame. Really.
It's a good reference.
It is. They're just like, yeah. They hang up and then Google Harry and Lloyd. Who the hell is Lloyd Christmas? Oh crap! Yeah. Is he with Condon?
Condon stole it.
Oh. He finally gets here. Good steak.
We had to hang out for like 30. He gets here, he's got to hang out for 20 minutes.
I know, right?
Condon steals him in the last 5 minutes of him hanging out. Son of a bitch. and I wanted to put on the damn T-shirt. I'm not taking off my shirt on camera. I wanted to go into the bathroom and put on the damn T-shirt.
These people something to talk about.
Do what?
Give these people something to talk about.
No, give me like 3 more months and I'll do
3 more months.
Yeah.
Getting it.
Are you listening to it in Q? Yep. There it is. It's still doing the damn thing. Okay. The Jaguar? At that point, you're thankful there wasn't that many people there. 7:52, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. It is Veterans Day, which is kicking off Veterans Week. Want to welcome Tony Winters back to the studio. Welcome back. How are you, man?
We are so excited. Today's my Christmas, man.
I know.
I love today.
I know. It is a big, big day, but setting up for a big, big week as well, culminating out at Southern University this coming weekend. So let's dive in. First of all, I appreciate the hustle in getting here, man.
Yeah.
I did not know you were hung up in New Orleans from yesterday, so.
Yeah, we have a condo in New Orleans that we keep because the hotels are so doggone expensive and parking is even more. So we just got a condo to stay down there when I was working down there. So we just kept it.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed down. We got up this morning at 5, and then we had to go through New Orleans traffic. There's always 8 accidents. Then when you get over the bridge, you got to come and somebody's just sitting in the left lane, shaving, making coffee.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you
not
doing?
drinking coffee,
making coffee.
Absolutely. So, yeah, no.
So we hustled and got up here because I was like, man, I don't want to miss the show. And Kyle, you know how Kyle's on 10 at all times. So it's like, hey. I was like, bro, I'm on my way.
So, no, I texted him when you weren't here yet. I'm like, where's he at? Might be stuck in New Orleans. So glad you were able to make it in. Hey, before we get into Veterans Week as well, give me 60 seconds. You were at the Southern game on Saturday. Meanwhile, everybody in Tiger Stadium was just demolished. Southern, what happened there?
First off, they were supposed to lose the game.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for the grit of those players and the outstanding coaches and all the leadership over there that just said they would not give up the fight. I was so proud to see how those kids reacted in that face of adversity. They fought their way to get into overtime, and then it became 5 overtimes. Literally, we were looking at the stage on the screen, and it said 9th quarter. I was like, the 9th quarter, 5 overtimes. It was fantastic.
Well, you know, it did not score in the first 3 quarters.
Oh, yeah, and they pulled out that victory.
Absolutely. Well, that's leading us up to this week. So today is Veterans Day. What starts for today? What's on?
Today is Service Day. Today is really, we thank people for their service, but today we actually going to be out in the street thanking my fellow veterans, thanking them for their service. We're volunteering. Then we're going to a big program they're having at Southern University at the Kappa House there on Harding Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really excited to see that. And then we're just in prep mode for a big celebration downtown at Roar Plaza. The fallback plan in case it rains, we're going to be inside the Symphony, Baton Rouge Symphony area there inside of that. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Then Thursday, we got the big Smoke 'em If You Got 'em with Clay Young, which is always fun at Don Juan's.
Yes.
And then on Saturday, that's our big concert We have a chili cook-off. We have a chef's competition. And then we have tons of performers. Universal Language is performing. And we have Solistic. DJ Flight is performing. We have a second DJ. Surprise DJ is coming in from New Orleans. So it's going to be so much fun. And we have a gospel choir that's going to kick us off. So we go from gospel brunch to R&B and jazz. And then on the evening, we'll have some hip-hop. So we'll do all full spectrum that day.
Fun.
And a fantastic football game to watch Southern try to make it to the SWAC championship.
All right, so Thursday, you said a smoke 'em going on at Don Juan Cigar. What does it take to get in on that? Because I know Clay always puts on a great event. So
we ask people to just register. Just go to eventbrite.com and register. You can register for each one of those 3 events that we enumerated here, and just go on, register, say that you want to come. Typically, we give out cigars to veterans. The great folks at Don Juan's have sponsored that. We have Red Reef Vodka, so they're sponsored. They're going to give out. And then, of course, we're going to have the new beer. You know how the new beer is, the Bluff Brew. People love it. They love that beer.
We actually got to sample that a couple weeks ago. It is phenomenal. It's just such a sweet and smooth lager.
Oh, yeah. It is. We love our good friends over at Tin Roof Brewery, Cammy, all of that crew. We love this partnership that we've had with them, have the honor of having with them 3 beers, so we're lucky.
We get Tony Winters in with us talking about the events going on for Veterans Week. Obviously, today being Veterans Day, kind of kicks things off a little bit. Okay, and then you walked us through everything for Saturday. Is there anything that needs to be done for that, like registration-wise, tickets-wise, other than the game itself?
Yeah. So tickets and for the game is separate from this, but for the big tailgate that we're doing there, all you have to do is go to Eventbrite, go to the one that tells you want to go to the Saturday event, go in and register. Registration is free to just attend the event. If you want to participate in the chili cook-off to taste it, that's $5. It's just simple, small numbers. That just helps the chili cooks pay for their stuff. But we got this big, beautiful trophy that we got from LNS Awards, who have always been our awards partners there on Perkins Road. So we're really excited about that. So the chili cooks are ready. They're hyped. They're telling me, like, man, I have the best chili in the world. And then the fans, all they got to do is just register, go on the website. We have great cooks out there, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
All the events going on Saturday, of course, like you said, they're on the Eventbrite as well. Smoke 'em if you got them would be on the Eventbrite as well.
Yep.
You brought in a couple T-shirts for me and John. Tell me about these T-shirts because they're gorgeous.
Oh man, we love them. These shirts here are Veterans Defender. These are our new shirts with our new logo. Of course, this is new logo for the beer. Our branding partners that we have in Houston, we go with them. We come up with these concepts and ideas. Actually, this designer is an IBM guy here in Baton Rouge. I gave him the vision, and he worked for like 3 days, and he came back. I was like, this is what I want. And he was like, is this kind of what I was like, that's exactly what I dreamed of. And so he kicked
All right,
butt.
so for those who are listening on the radio, this is a Jaguar that's basically ripping its own shirt off. And it says Veterans Defender underneath the shirt. Kind of as he pulls it back across his chest, you can see that going across his chest right there. That is a ripped cat, by the way.
Yeah, I'm the biggest fan of Superman, the old Superman, Superman from when I was a kid. That you could still see the string hanging when he was flying. And so that's my old Superman. And so this is who it reminds me of when he used to pull his shirt. That was awesome.
I know, that is a cat that did not skip shoulder day.
Probably don't want to see his legs, though.
No. The number on the bottom here, what do we get when we call?
8777-WINNERS. VeteransDefender.com, of course, is my office, and 8777-WINNERS is our office number. That when we help veterans get their benefits, active duty guys, if they get in trouble. But this is all about veterans and stopping that 22 veterans per day completing suicide. Numbers really like 44 if you look at self-inflicted. So,
and then that is the
real
that's
reason.
the mission here.
Yeah.
That is really, I mean, you said 22 a day, but really broadens out to what?
45, 40 and 45. According to the American Warrior sponsorship and program, they have that many veterans that are total either completing suicide or self-inflicted with overdoses.
The numbers are stark, and they're in our face, and we needed to do better, and that starts with events like this. He is Tony Winters. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Here
Have
comes
a great
news.
day.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad we got that in. Okay, that clock doesn't work. That clock is off by 45 seconds.
Okay. You know, I was watching that one. I was like, how do y'all do this?
I need
What
to
is the difference?
So
What is that?
All right,
I knew something was happening. I was
all
like,
right,
what's
here's
happening?
the secret. This is 1 minute.
Okay, that's
Okay.
1 minute.
This is half a circle, so that's half a minute.
Half a
30
minute.
seconds.
Okay.
is
right
in
off of
The interstate.
Louise Street exit, and then you go down about 2 blocks.
Oh,
Right
okay.
there,
All right. Yeah, I know St. Francis Xavier out in Metairie.
Oh, yeah.
So,
there is
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm originally Old Metairie, so that's
Yeah, and she was she grew up in Nassau Bay in Houston.
okay.
Yeah. Her dad works at NASA across the street still to this day. So
Nice.
yeah, he's a retired colonel, full bird in the Army and stuff.
How was the dome yesterday?
Oh, we didn't make it inside the game. We went to we have a condo down there in New Orleans. So
Okay, I just assumed you went to the game.
We tried, but it's so much stuff for Red Stick veterans. We got new cornholes for this. Like we have all these big branding stuff, so we had to get all that done. And then by the time we got down there, traffic was a nightmare, I should say. We had tickets. I had some nosebleeds.
Yeah.
And we sat outside at the what's the name of it? The Virgin Hotel. They have a rooftop, the big rooftop. You ever been there?
No.
The Virgin Hotel in New Orleans?
No, I have not.
Oh, they have a spectacular rooftop, full panoramic, middle, and you're low into the city, in the CBD. So you see all of the CBD. So we went over there and had, down the 13th floor, they have drinks and pools. So we went from there to, what was the next hotel? Yeah, they had a DJ at the Ace. Then we went back uptown to where our condo is, to ice cream at the Parish Parlor, and then walked home. Caught the trolley. They have a Parish Parlor ice cream on Magazine. We live uptown.
Okay.
We live at
Which
Jackson.
one? There's another ice cream place on Magazine that I'm thinking of, or is it on?
We're Magazine and St. Andrews, or we walked down Josephine. We caught the trolley up. We caught the streetcar.
Real Creamery is the one I'm thinking of. That's not. That's
Oh,
on.
I've heard of
Is that
that
on?
one too. I think it's
Magazine
further
or
down.
Britannia? I don't know.
It may be on.
I'm not down there enough anymore.
Yeah,
I used to be all the time.
and we were too. Like we were down there all the time because I was working down there, and then I came up here. I'm the also the attorney supervisor at Office of Financial Institutions. We regulate banks and credit unions and securities and blah blah blah. That's my boring job. This is my passion job, and so when I came up here, it was cheap for us to still have a condo than it is to stay in hotels.
That's crazy. That it would be cheaper just to keep a condo.
If we stay in,
Then it
longest we stay in New Orleans 2 nights out of the month, it's cheaper. Long as we stay in the condo, like our condo is only like $1,400 a month, so it's cheaper for us to have that than if we pay for a hotel. 3 nights at a hotel is more expensive. Parking, oversized park. My big truck, it's $300 a night. You know.
Yeah.
So it's easy. Like, look, I don't have to worry about it. We just patch in our building, drive, parking. Parking in New Orleans, there's no. We got gated parking.
Right.
So it's a no-brainer for us.
Well,
We've enjoyed it. Yeah. So we had a good time. We had the little cheap seats, and it was easy. And we have a daughter down at Xavier, but she stays at the LSU residences across from the LSU Health residences. They're across from the Superdome. Yeah, like. Yeah, it's right there.
oh, okay. Yeah. I know what it is.
Yeah. So she stays in another apartment, and so we just grabbed her and took her. It was like it was her birthday last week. She's coming for Red Stick Veterans Week, so we were waiting to just celebrate her birthday this week, but we just hung out with her. It was packed. That game was packed. And this is the Atlanta game, so that was our Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah, that was like we don't give a shit.
Well, now we got Cleveland up next, and they suck.
In Cleveland, though, right?
I think we're home.
Is it?
I think we're home for 2 more. I think we got 3 in a row at home.
Okay. Oh. Because I know that Saturday night the Lakers are in town against the Pelicans.
Oh, fun.
But calls out indefinitely again.
Again?
That's some good work if you can get millions of dollars and not show up. I wonder if they got any more jobs like that. See if the old hook shot can.
I don't know. I want to be emotionally invested in the Pelicans because BI is a special player because he's a franchise player who doesn't mind playing that second role.
That's it. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to get their spirit. Hit 7 threes the other night. Alvarado.
Yeah, Alvarado.
He had 7 threes. He had 27 points the night before last. He he's on fire. When they play without him, when they play without Zion, they figure it out and then they go on a roll. Yeah. Remember those years they kept making it to the play-ins without him.
Yeah.
So I figured let's just go without him. Let somebody else have him. He'll go win a championship as soon as he leaves us.
Problem is that it's the concept of sunk cost. We put too much into him. He's the number one pick.
But don't they?
I don't know how to.
But can't they pay? Can't we get somebody to buy us out of that?
Yes, but not at the level that we take. You know,
right.
just.
And then he'll lose 40 fucking pounds and then want to.
And never get hurt again, right?
Never get hurt.
Just like AD.
Just like it.
Hey, thank y'all for everything.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
The cupcakes, I forgot.
Well, thank you. Oh, it's cupcake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cupcakes at OJ.
we're all set.
Y'all be safe, bro. Thank you.
Later, y'all. Nice to meet you. 806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Oh man, God, we're nowhere near done. We got so much more to cover. There's a lot of. We're back. We're news heavy on the back end this morning, as we're going to talk a lot about the special session that's going on for sure, and that's going to involve. We're going to have a conversation with Moon Griffon at 8:15, and then we're just getting into the thick of it on the news end after that. So this is Mornings with Brian Haldane. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm not wasting any more time. Let's go ahead and hit up this day in history. All right, John.
All right. What a busy morning, huh?
Very busy
Welcome
morning.
to Monday. Huh?
I know.
Here we go.
I know. Brutal.
Hey, starting off in 1620, the Mayflower Compact is signed by Pilgrims at Cape Cod, establishing the first framework of government in the territory that is now the USA.
They were the first ones to put pen to paper and say, "We're gonna form a government over here."
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, in 1909, the construction of U.S. Navy base begins at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii.
Okay.
That was today. 1918, World War I armistice signed by the Allies in Germany comes into effect.
Yep.
With hostilities ending at 11 a.m., the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month.
Correct.
1921, U.S. President Warren G. Harding dedicates Tomb of Unknown Soldier at Arlington Cemetery.
Yes, he did. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
No,
it's like I'm always waiting for you're good.
Well, because it's Warren G. Harding, and I'm like, you had me at Warren G.
Yeah.
But that's a different guy altogether.
No regulating over here, huh?
No.
Hey, not sure if you're a fan of this, but 1954, the publications of The Two Towers, the second volume of Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien.
No, I didn't know that. I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy.
Yeah, not me either. Just a fan of Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, those guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1983, President Reagan becomes the first U.S. president to address Japanese legislator.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's, bridged into a world that was previously, markets that were previously untapped before that, for sure.
That's right. 1994, Bill Gates buys Leonardo da Vinci's Codex for $30,800,000. Then the most expensive manuscript ever sold.
That is pretty cool.
Really impressive.
Okay.
I wonder if he still has it.
Bill Gates?
Yeah.
Who
knows, huh? What else you got
I doubt
as far as history goes?
Well, as far as history goes, it's Armistice Day that was a precursor to Veterans Day.
Yep.
And the fact that World War I ending today is probably the biggest one on the map.
Yes, indeed. Hey, moving on to birthdays here. Leonardo DiCaprio today.
Ooh.
Demi Moore and Stanley Tucci.
Okay. All right. Man, so many birthdays on top of DiCaprio. George Patton was born on this day in 1885. Russian author Dostoevsky, this day in 1821. Kurt Vonnegut, this day in 1922. I can't hear Kurt Vonnegut's name without thinking of the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah. Gangster, crime boss, Lucky Luciano, born on this day in 1896. Oh man, we got more. We got more. American comedian Jonathan Winters, born on this day in 1925. And oh man, I know I had at least one more. Let me move over to my sports list here. Oh yeah, there we go. Born on this day in 1994, former LSU Tiger on Patriots defensive tackle Devon Gottschalk.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. As far as deaths go, not too many here, but in 2022, comedian Gallagher.
Really?
And then also that same year, John Aniston, soap opera veteran who portrayed Victor Caracas in more than 2,800 episodes of Days of Our Lives.
Clue.
I have no idea. But
Couldn't
I
tell
thought
you
that
who
was
that
impressive.
was.
Somebody has to know who he is, right? 2,800 episodes of Days of Our Lives?
I guess so.
I guess.
I mean, yeah.
If that's your thing.
I suppose.
Yeah. Any other notable?
Yeah, okay. So Typhoid Mary died on this day in 1938.
Gotcha.
And then going back towards the top of the list, we had a couple of them here. Again, I hate the way that this thing's laid out. It's so stupid. Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, he died on this day in 1855. Yasser Arafat on this day in 2004. And no, that was all. Those were the ones that I had.
And of course, as far as national days go, Veterans Day.
It is Veterans Day, and that
That's
will
it.
not be shared with anything else. So
Nope.
it does not have to share the news cycle. 812 at Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break coming back. Let's talk with Moon Griffon next. Hello?
Hello. Hi, Moon. Hi. Okay, I couldn't hear you at first. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's John here with Brian Haldane. What's up? Oh, you're off today. Oh.
Oh, we can skip.
Oh, okay. So,
I
do
did
you
not
want to
know.
do, so no interview?
That's up to him. We can skip.
Okay, not a problem. Moon. Sorry about that. You sure? Okay, not a problem. Oh man, yeah, Montague, down the bayou. All right, sounds good, Moon. Thank you. Dang, he's on a fishing trip with some buddies in Montague, but he said he'll still do it. He said just lead the way. You lead it, and he'll go.
Okay. Oh, shit, he's still, okay.
Yeah. He
Alright,
said
cool.
he'll do it. At first he said he wasn't gonna do it, but he's like, oh, he's on today. But I'm like, he said, you know what? No, I'll do it. I'll step out. I'm like, okay, you sure? He's like, yeah.
Step out. I hope he's not on a boat.
Man.
8:15 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Every Monday we get caught up with Moon Griffon talking about everything under the sun. And you know what? He's on with us right now. Moon, I apologize, man. I did not know you were out today.
No, you know what happened, Brian? Let me do to apologize. And I had by the way, I'm getting a little feedback. Brian, I had some buddies from my old Redemptions graduating class. I've literally only seen them a few times in the 45 years. At the last second, they said, "Hey, let's go take a trip," and I took a quick trip on my head home today. But I did miss something, Brian. I want to let you know that I had 2 golden tickets to the LSU Alabama game.
Oh.
And I gave them to my son to go. Me and I usually take him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's a bad time to go to Alabama LSU game, but missing this one did not hurt my feelings because I actually saw it on TV and it was very disheartening. So I may have missed one I needed to miss.
No, absolutely. It was embarrassing. It was depressing. It was everything that you don't want a ball game to be. Just an absolute butt kicking.
I know losses when you lose one on a last second Hail Mary are tough. But the reason that one I think was tougher is because of the fashion. Alabama dominated LSU.
Yeah.
You know, LSU had a few chances, but in all fairness, they dominated them. And that's what hurt a little bit because what happens is we all, as fans, are so excited, get excited, get all pumped up for the game day's in. It just don't stop. And you just feel the momentum that this is gonna be a good game for LSU. And then it doesn't happen. So that's where the disappointment comes. That's just football, or that's just college football. You're dealing with 20-year-olds, but it was disheartening the fact that you thought they would compete, and you almost feel like they didn't even compete. And I know that's not right because they wasn't a kid out there not trying their best.
No, and that's right, Moon. But at the same time, though, it's one thing to say you're dealing with 20-year-olds and whatnot, but this is very high stakes as well, and because you're dealing with a $100 million coach, and you're dealing with NIL dollars, and you're dealing with kids who, while they were, previously just considered student athletes, they're now making money. So it kind of
Brian,
changes
they're probably
the perception.
making more money than you and me.
Oh, for sure. For absolutely sure. Doesn't matter the position or where they're on the depth chart, they're making more than you and me.
So I think you hit it on the head. I think what happens is you get excited about the old brand of LSU football, which is good football, then great football, on the top 5 or 10 teams, always in the country pretty much. And then you throw in the money. So for people and fans and coaches and everybody involved, and you start looking at the money that's going into a program. I'm not talking about LSU, I'm talking about anywhere.
Right.
And then you have such a letdown. And, we figure with a 12-game playoff, you go, well, we'll make a 12-game playoff. But it's not that easy. I was thinking the reality was that LSU would win this game. Georgia got beat. I said, could you imagine, Brian, and you're a football guy, could you imagine a 12-game playoff with no Alabama and no Georgia? And that was what I was thinking. My God, I couldn't even imagine that. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're in because they're not in yet, but that was reality. Had LSU won, one of them would have been eliminated.
Right. No, yeah, Alabama would have been they still kind of had the resume, but they would have been hard-pressed to make it over that hurdle when you look at
if they lose now to Mercer or Oklahoma or Auburn with 3 losses, that resume is shattered. I don't care if they beat Georgia and LSU. It doesn't matter at that point.
They're not.
They still got work to do. But going back to the Titans, that was what the disappointment was. Our hopes and dreams and excitement for it just kind of got shot down, and it got shot down pretty early. And that's a shame because, like I said, I know they're good enough to beat Alabama, and they get the same type kids, and it just didn't happen. And I hate to bring that up, but that's the you wake up Monday morning, you go, wow. So anyway.
Well, yeah, and that we're in year 3 of Brian Kelly, and the record's not getting better. The wins and losses aren't getting better. I mean, you could sort of see, if you watch the sausage be made, you can sort of see that they're putting the recipes together. But until it's on the scoreboard, until you see the W's and go up and the L's go down, if you're a fan, it's like, what are we really paying all this money for?
Yeah, so. Brian, you ever notice in college sports how we count people out and count teams out? Just a couple quick examples. A couple of years ago, Florida State, they wanted to fire that coach. He rallied, and they kept his job. Then he went 13-0, and they didn't make the playoffs, and everybody quit. Georgia beat them, and this year they 1-9.
Right.
And if you think about that, and Deion Sanders ain't done anything there his first year, and then all of a sudden his team's competing, and so those expectations with these young people, money or not, the emotion roller coaster up and down is just the way it is now because these teams are not going to be able to build depth at all. I don't care if it's football, baseball, or basketball. Kids want to play, and if this university over here is going to offer me some money to go play, and I'm not really making as much money here and I'm not going to play, they're gone. They're gone, Brian.
That's the transfer
You're not
portal.
going to build the kind of unity anymore.
Yep, and that's the nature of the transfer portal, Moon. That is where we're at today. Look, let's talk a little bit about the special session. How dialed in are you on what got done over the weekend or heading into the weekend?
Well, what I think happened so far with the income tax and a couple things that they did pass is that's the low-hanging fruit. In other words, that's the stuff you knew that everybody would vote for. Looks good on a resume. But the Senate left from the first day. They coming back in Wednesday to start hearing bills, unless they change their mind. The calendar said Wednesday. So the hard work is still left to be done. It's easy to get a few early victories. It's getting the total package that Jeff's asking for. Will that pass? And I think that's where the rubber meets the road. I'm still hoping we get a big bill out of this. But, I got to wait and see, Brian. It's just he hadn't got to the nitty-gritty yet, and I think that's a good assessment. You may have a different assessment, but that's how I see it.
So yes, I'm still reserving judgment until we see what actually does get passed. Because, man, Moon, I was looking at Julie Emerson's HB1. The digest is 9 pages long. I mean, there's so much wrapped up into one bill here, and we're seeing multiple bills that are like that, where it's not single item legislation that you can give a very confident thumbs up or thumbs down to. You got multiple things wrapped up into one, like knocking the personal incomes down from 4.5% to 3% is not the only thing in there. In order to vote for that, you also have to vote for knocking out the film tax credit, knocking out a tax credit for people who donate bone marrow. Like, it just there's so much randomness that's wrapped into that I don't know that any of this is going to survive the other side of the legislature.
Yeah, and so you just touched upon it. It's very complicated, very broad, and 19 days seems like a lot, but I don't know if it is or not. So, I'm like I said, I'm going to stay hopefully optimistic that we'll get something done. But, Brian, just passing something and saying we won is not going to do it. It's going to have to be massive reform. I think the governor gets credit for trying this because nobody else had the guts to do it. But I just don't know if there's I'm going to put it this way. I think there's so many moving parts. I hope it's not too many moving parts. Right. You just explained one of the problems.
Well, yeah, because we see this problem in Washington, D.C. all the time, where there is no such thing as single-item legislation, where you have bills that are 80 or 90 pages long that you don't know what's inside them until after the vote is over with. And I get real worried, Moon, that if we start to see that on a state level, number one, it's going to become the norm. And number two, we're going to get lost and detached from what's going on inside that building because it's all going to be, you have to hold your nose and vote for it because you like the majority of it.
Brian, what goes along with what you said, remember, this is kind of threefold. You got to get stuff out this session. You got to have a vote in March on a constitutional vote. And then you still got the regular session to wrap all this up with taxes and the 0.45 and all that other stuff. So this is not something we're going to know everything about unless it all dies until next summer maybe. Really, if they pass anything and claim it, if they say step in the right direction, I just think that ain't going to mean a whole lot. So there's so many moving parts, and there's 3 layers of this that got to do. We're in the early stages of the first one, and I'm not going to get upset or this. I'm just kind of watching it take place at this point.
Same. Yeah, and I'm going to fixate on HB1 because that's the biggest item in there. But there's going to be smaller things that make their way through as well. And this is one area where you could say a step in the right direction because you know where steps 2 and 3 have to come from.
Yeah.
It's not.
By the way.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you that I'm gone tomorrow. Joe Cunningham's going to sit in. Soon Brian Haldane will sit in for us. But
he's right around the corner.
I wanted to tell you that tomorrow morning at 9:06, Governor Jeff Landry on my program. So we're going to get it. We're going to get some X's and O's from the governor tomorrow.
Is he going to be in studio?
That I don't know. Sometime they'll just at the last second say, hey, he's in town. He's going to come to the studio. But since he's been governor, most of the interviews have been calling.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot to ask. to schedule that because, I mean, the governor gets kind of busy. You know, what with hauling tigers in from Florida and whatnot.
Well, look at the bright side, Brian. It only cost us $25,000. And, hey, when you got money like we got, what's $25,000?
Well, but, okay, so, we still don't know if that was privately funded. I have to believe it was.
I don't see where you're going to take state money and pay for that.
Right.
I think it was a good look in the fact that everybody, you know, people wanted to see it happen. And, you know, you had 500 recruits and their family members that were at the game. I mean, so many people came back to that game for LSU. And I think they were hoping that would add a little bit to what they were hoping was a big victory on Saturday night, and it just didn't happen. I don't think the Tiger helped. That's between you and me.
No, the Tiger obviously did not intimidate Alabama and obviously was not the juice that LSU needed. So, I mean, yeah, it was.
Yeah, by the way, if they bring the Tiger back and we lose again, I say no more Tiger.
That's where I'm at right now, to be sure. He is Moon Griffon. Man, I appreciate a couple minutes. I know you're out today and tomorrow, so thanks for hopping on board.
No, Brian, always a pleasure, brother. God bless.
God bless. We'll talk to you soon. And yes, I'll be in line to fill in for Moon in the very near future. We have the technology. So it's 8:27 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. I've been sitting on a story for a week now, and I think we have time to get into it here. Pull up my clock to make sure. Yeah, we do. There was a story last week. Timothy Boone over at The Advocate put it out. And the headline reads, Fun City is coming to Baton Rouge. Here's what it is and where it will be. A chain of indoor playgrounds plans to open a location in the redeveloped Ardenwood Shopping Center. Fun City Adventure Park has submitted an application to demolish and remodel the interior of 5905 Florida Boulevard, according to documents submitted last month with the East Baton Rouge Parish Planning Department. The plan is to remodel the space with bumper cars, a rock climbing wall, indoor playground equipment, trampolines, foam pits, ball pits, and an arcade. The playground could open in the next 9 to 12 months, said Mario Brunelli, the real estate broker for Fun City. Hiring should start in about 7 months. So the background on these folks, Fun City, they operate about 25 indoor playgrounds in the U.S., with most of them in the Northeast. Company recently opened a location in Montgomery, Alabama, in what had previously been a movie theater. They take up about 63,000 square feet in the Ardenwood Shopping Center right there, or they will take up about 63,000 square feet in that shopping center, making the Baton Rouge location one of the largest for their company. So, here in Baton Rouge, we're looking at a number of different projects overall to help revitalize certain areas. And the Florida Boulevard Corridor project is one of the bigger ones. And I don't want a single story to go overlooked on Florida Boulevard. Remember what big news it was when Rouse's opened on Florida in that very same shopping center? By the way, this is that building behind that Rouse's, to be sure. But remember what big news it was when we saw the groundbreaking and then eventually the opening of that Rouse's right there? Because it was helping to minimize the food desert, but more importantly, the intermingling of like making Florida Boulevard no longer a boundary between North and South Baton Rouge. This is going to be step 2 in that, and it's going to happen in the very same shopping center, which is awesome. I really can't wait. I love this idea. I can't wait to see how many kids' birthday parties are going to be over there. It's another little. This is not a huge thing, but it's another little step in a chain of dominoes that need to fall in order to get Florida Boulevard back to its glory. Get Florida Boulevard back where it is the main artery of Baton Rouge. Spans from river to river, from the Mississippi to the Amite. And revitalizing Baton Rouge has to revolve around revitalizing Florida Boulevard. So I don't want there to be a single item, a single property, a single business opening on Florida without at least acknowledging it here. Here comes news.
Yeah, that's going to be great, man.
Oh! I'll be right back. How does it look?
There you go.
Good
Man.
fit?
There you go.
Decent?
All right. You got some orange juice and vodka?
Yeah, no, just the orange juice. All right, so we're going to go Attorney General and then text session. Squeezing both of these into one segment.
Okay, so you already had cut 4 earlier. Do you still want to go through? You want to do cut 4 still, or?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it is about the color contrast, but the shirt looks like a salmon color on camera. It is red though. For anyone,
It's got a little pinkish into it. It's
I know,
a
but
lighter red.
but it's way darker.
It's not like a
in
fire
person.
engine red.
No, but it's just a little lighter on the face.
Okay. Oh, shit. Byron says, I had a nanny that watched Days of Our Lives religiously. I know way more about the 70s era of that show than any man should admit to.
See, somebody knows, man.
Okay, let's dive in on that forecast. Here's what we got going on today. A high of 82, partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, 50-50 shot at rain with a high of 79. Overnight low tomorrow only gets down, tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, only gets down to 71 degrees. We got an 80% chance of rain on Wednesday. That's looking like Wednesday's going to be full of thunderstorms, to be sure, with a high of 80. Now, when it moves back out on Thursday, your high's only going to be 75, then 73 on Friday, 76 on Saturday. So slightly cooler temperatures coming through with this next round of rain that's expected tomorrow and Wednesday. And then it's kind of rinse repeat next week. It'll creep back up to the 80s. We'll see some more rain. It'll be back down in the 70s, but next time, every time through, a little bit lower overall. Right now, partly cloudy, 73 in downtown Baton Rouge. $8:38 as of now. 8:38 to Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Man, it's our news partners over at Louisiana Radio Network are on point this morning. Talk about the report coming out of the New York Post that Governor Jeff Landry is a potential candidate to be Attorney General in a Donald Trump administration. The president-elect is going to be putting together his people right now, right? Well, Jeff Landry could possibly be in the mix. And we already know that it was talked about that Garrett Graves could be in the mix for Transportation Secretary as well. And you might stop and say, wait a minute, Brian, why would there be that much Louisiana representation up in the Trump cabinet, up on Trump's, innermost team? Well, last time Donald Trump was president, we had a ton of Louisiana representation as well. First of all, we had Dan Brouillette, was the one quick second. He was the secretary for the U.S. Department of Energy. He was the energy secretary. Dan Brouillette, who's from the Pankerville, Napoleonville area. But we also had Admiral Frank Giroir. And he and Frank Giroir, was it Frank? Dadgummit, I'm gonna kick myself if I don't have this right. Oh, you know what? My point here is that, was it Bretcher? Was it Brett? Yes, it was. Okay, it was Admiral Brett Giroir. Was the Assistant Secretary for Health as well, if I'm not mistaken. But my point is that Donald Trump has leaned on Louisiana in the past, and he no doubt will lean on Louisiana in the future, or very well could lean on Louisiana in the future. That being said, it becomes a question of timing. Louisiana Radio Network spoke with political analyst Bernie Pincinat, who says the governor has his hands full right now.
He's in the middle of trying to reassemble Louisiana and keep the state afloat, keep people from leaving Louisiana. I mean, there's so many problems in Louisiana.
Now, in July, the governor expressed a little reluctance about leaving his post early. But that's before Donald Trump was elected. It's different when it gets more real. Also, I mean, you're 1 year in on the gig. What you have to look at if you're Jeff Landry is not just your own career, but where can you do the most good for Louisiana? For example, if Jeff Landry just hands off to Billy Nungesser, what does that look like? Is there a drop-off in his eyes? Is there a drop-off to Billy Nungesser versus going and being the Attorney General for the United States? That being said, Landry does have a really good relationship with the president.
I'm positive that they remain good friends, and they're also political allies. But him leaving the state, as you know right now, he's in the middle of a legislative session to revamp Louisiana's tax structure. I don't expect him to do it.
Okay, that legislative session will be long since over with by the time that Donald Trump is sworn back in. I mean, he can't, he can put together who he wants as his team, but you're not going to have your attorney general until you're no longer president-elect, but you're president. Donald Trump did endorse Landry's gubernatorial race, And in fact, Donald Trump Jr. Came and supported him at a rally, and I want to say it was at the inauguration, if I'm remembering correctly. But Pincinat says, all in all, this is probably just too soon.
This was his 7th or 8th year as being governor. I think it would be a great opportunity for him, but not before he even has his second legislative session.
Man, I don't know. It's you got to stay big picture here. I don't think it makes a difference 7th or 8th year versus right now when it comes to pulling the trigger on something like this. Because the likelihood that you're going to have this opportunity again is slim. Meanwhile, that's just one post. What about Secretary of Transportation? Well, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Congressman Garrett Graves is in the running on that one as well. Or I should say his name has been thrown out a good bit as well. So, not unheard of, to be sure. Nothing's a done deal, but it's not unheard of, to be sure. 843, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Let's get you back into that legislative session. The special session on tax reform going on right now. The Ways and Means Committee, they heard from Louisiana's film industry, leaders in the film industry. Jason Wagensback, we've had him on before. Need to get him back on in very short order. He's from Film Louisiana. He talked about when it comes to what tax incentive programs you want to look at nixing, what you want to look at cutting. He talked about the history of Louisiana's tax incentive program.
In 2002, Louisiana was the first state to create a film program, and now over 40 states have copied that. Not only 40 states, but several other countries have copied our program, and we're in the top 5 in the United States for film production right here.
Top 5 for film production right here, but what needs to be added to that is how mobile the industry is. They don't have to be tied down here, but all the jobs that are connected to the film industry will pack up and leave. And we know this because we've seen it happen before. Our state legislator has jacked with the film tax credit before. And as the film tax credit goes, so do the jobs. Wagensback again argued against cutting the credit, citing its significant economic impact. And if you want to say we can get the same money without having any of the credits, we cannot. History has proven that. That program itself is highlighted. It was highlighted by Wagensback that the program supports over 3,000 productions, contributing about $1 billion in annual sales and $360 million in local payroll.
$180 million in our tax credit program that goes out. $360 million goes directly to Louisiana residents, and over $600 million in sales on top of that comes to the state of Louisiana.
Right, and all that money just dries up. All that money goes away if you get rid of the credit. It's sad because we've seen it happen before. And I know this is one that I'm like super duper passionate about. But we've watched it happen. Trey Burvant from Second Line Studios emphasized the role that film delivers a lot and the results in tax reform that Louisiana is looking for. He noted that film workers earn an average annual wage of around $65,000 to $68,000 a year.
And when we mentioned that average wage, that's not over a 12-month period. That's usually earned within 8 to 10 months because of the nature of how films work.
Right. Right. If you're doing 1 or 2 big projects a year, that's what you're looking at right there. And they're great jobs to have. Unbelievable jobs to have. The problem is we don't get to hear the real stories behind those jobs. Every time we talk about the film tax credit, it boils down to like wanting to see Tom Cruise going out to eat at Sullivan's or something like that. Oh, it's cool. Celebrities come to town. That's not what this is about. This is about jobs that are like more than just the food. Every time, inevitably, they'll talk about, they got the good, the caterers get a whole lot of work because of this. No, it's so much more than that. It's all the people that work in the studio. It's all the digital effects people. When you go to watch a movie, stick around for the credits. Once they get through the actors, now you're getting into the meat of it. All the credits that happen after the actors, that's what you're looking for. That's what you want to be moved into your neighborhood. That's what you want purchasing the house that's for sale. That's what you want where their kids and your kids go to school together. It's a different game altogether. And the last time, like I said, the last time we jacked with this thing, we lost it. A lot packed up and went to Georgia, without question. And by the way, if you're wondering just how serious this could be or how close we are to losing it, well, it's part of HB1. It's part of the bill that's already made its way out of Ways and Means. And I was hoping to talk with Julie Emerson here to get a little more background on it. But when you dig through the digest of HB1, it says, present law authorizes the following tax credits for state-certified motion picture productions. And it lists a 25% tax credit if the base investment is in excess of $300,000 or if the production is a Louisiana screenplay production. An additional 5% base investment credit for projects filmed outside of the New Orleans metro zone, but not including St. John the Baptist Parish. An additional 10% base investment credit for certain expenditures equal to or greater than $50,000 but less than $5 million. A 15% credit for Louisiana resident payroll expenditures, and a 5% credit for Louisiana-based visual effects expenditures meeting certain requirements. Present law, by the way, prohibits credits for applications received on or after July 31st, because that's when this one's supposed to expire. But the proposed law moves July 1st of 2031. It moves the 2031 expiration date up to 2025. If HB1 passes, film tax credits go away in a little over a year, which basically means Celtic Studios can go back to hosting gun and knife shows or mattress sales or whatever they've got going on over there. While we've seen a ridiculous amount of effort be put into building out the infrastructure, building out the industry, it could just be pulled just like that. There's going to be a school built on Celtic Studios grounds that's going to build out the infrastructure of the industry, that's going to create the next round of jobs, the next round of people to fill the jobs that the demand that the tax credit provides. We're doing everything right on this front. And now we're going to look at pulling it because it's called a credit. And they're going to say, well, how much of that money do we actually have to give away? Well, when the project picks up and moves to Georgia, you give away all of it, including the jobs and the sales tax, and the service taxes, which you are so reliant upon right now because of everything else, that all the other moving parts they're within that package. All right, it's 8:50 at Talk 107.3 FM. Let's check your money now. We'll check traffic. When we come back, we'll hit up the outside in. That's here's your money now. Oh. Well, I said I'd have the outside in when we came back, and I can't find the damn thing. Shit. That ain't no good. Did it fall off the table? It did not. I ain't gonna put my shirt back on before I go to the Monday meeting. hoping these nuts. God, you can't make that up. By the way, take all the cupcakes home with you. Yeah. These nuts. Got him! $8:57, $8:56, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. One segment before we get out of here, and we're going to get into the outside in just a second. Do need to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Check them out online at vexeuropean.com, VEX, vexeuropean.com. My guy Vinny over at Vex European, look, if you drive a European vehicle, you made that investment. You know what you want out of your car. You've made an investment to get what you want out of your car. By using Vex European, what you're going to do is make sure you're maximizing that investment. Make sure that you are getting the most out of that European engineering from start to finish. And I'm not just talking about taking it there for major repairs. I'm talking about the everyday stuff too. Hop on vexeuropean.com, check out a couple of specials, see what they got going on. Get them in for anything from, an oil change all the way up the ladder. They're going to pair you with a master technician who knows your make of vehicle inside and out. It's at vexeuropean.com. All right, time for the outside in. Let's go. we are going to start off in Iberville Parish. DOTD said Sunday, one of the ferries in Iberville Parish is temporarily out of service due to mechanical issues, leaving only the main ferry to move people to and from Plaquemine and Sunshine. This is the third time that the second ferry has broken. In August, the OTD announced it would be out for around 4 weeks for mechanical issues. And then on October 23rd, the ferry was out of service once again. Now it's out for a third time. Heading over to Tangipahoa Parish, police seized more than 100,000 pills, including pills containing fentanyl, methamphetamine, and oxycodone. Wednesday, this was the biggest drug bust in Tangipahoa Parish history, the police department reported. The investigation resulted in the arrest of 69-year-old Marvin Thorne of Hammond. Through their investigation, officials found 44.79 pounds of drugs, more than 100,000 pills in total. At least 27 pounds tested positive for fentanyl. Investigators also found 21 bottles of promethazine. Next stop, last stop, Livingston Parish, and we take you back to Friday. A person was hurt and taken to the hospital after a vehicle crashed into a bicycle at a Denham Springs Walmart. The accident took place at the Walmart off Highway 16, and according to Sheriff Jason Ard, witnesses said the person riding the bicycle was on her cell phone and drove into the lane of a vehicle. She suffered a broken leg and other injuries, but will be okay. But yeah, distracted bicycling. That's what we're looking at right there out in Livingston Parish. All right, that's going to do it for us. You got Moon Griffon coming your way right after Moon's out today, he said. So Moon is out today. So did he say Joe? He said Joe was going to be in tomorrow. Joe Cunningham tomorrow. So Moon will have a guest host coming up right after we're done today. After that, Brian Kilmeade coming your way at 11. Of course, the Ramsey Show at 1 o'clock. Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And then Mondays with the mayor. We should be back at it. Mayor Dustin Yates and myself sitting in answering your questions about how to build a city. What goes into that? The mayor of the city of St. George will be in with us at 5 o'clock this evening for Mondays with the mayor. And, of course, your home for Monday Night Football is right here on Talk 107.3 FM as well. That is going to do it for us. We got to get out of here. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks. All right, I got to get upstairs. We'll see you all tomorrow.